We were there for an hour and 40 minutes or something right? Something like that we've been gone since we mixed our product. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. I'll come back and let me run. Hold on. Son of a bitch. I am caught. Is it? Oh, it was hooked to itself. Sorry. I could have pulled all day. Yes, sir.
So I charged mine. I did lines. They did lines, but their lines stayed thin. Mine.
Yeah. He did his just before lunch, unlike what we were saying. So obviously he didn't follow instructions, so it doesn't look right. Imagine that. We'll get yours right. His is hideous because he didn't listen. He pulled a Levi. That's something I'd do. I was just trying to be nice to you. I really wouldn't be that dumb. So I bet his looks best. Now, think about this. Take a brush now and see if you can brush across the surface with some clear alcohol on it. Uh-huh. See if you can. We'll just keep him busy because he's dumb. That really is no reason for what I just told him to do. Just make him quit asking questions. Am I live yet?
I don't think.
No, you're fine.
Sorry. Then if you fell, I'd be like, oh, my shoulder. Sorry, Victor, I had to let you hit the ground. I wouldn't want to hurt my shoulder. I'd throw my body underneath. I'd lay down sideways, and you'd hit my fat body and bounce. You'd bounce off my abs. Blah. All right, so I'm going to grab some of the black and start trying to do some very sharp veins. Now, I know that some of you guys probably think it's set up too much, and it is set up quite a bit, but I don't actually think too much because you'll get the very sharpest veins right now. When it's really sticky, like it is, you just have to work it quite a bit slower, but you're going to get a very, very natural vein once we sand this. You learn a lot about timing here.
Person didn't get it black, so should I mix some real quick?
No? Take some from somebody that has plenty. Otherwise, it'd just set on top and be a waste. Be patient, guys. Now, this is about as long as you'd ever want to wait, but it still is workable, thank God.
We're ready.
Hi, we're live. Welcome back. We have some people that are too beautiful to be on camera, so you'll just have to watch me. I'm sorry. I apologize for that as much as You guys are sorry you have to do it. We're learning how to do white marble veins. We did black marble before lunch. Then we actually poured our product and went to lunch. Most of us didn't torch our product. Some of us did. And we're seeing if it's still workable after we waited about an hour and 40 minutes from our initial mix. So as you see, it's almost like taffy. And some people say this is totally non-workable. This is when you can get the most clean, crisp, badass veins you'll ever get. Especially, we're gonna sand this later, and it'll cut through, and you'll get more of like a cut through rock edge, and you'll have some of the sharpest veins you've ever seen that are gonna look very natural, really good. I'm pretty impressed. This is our new Forizzle Nouveau, or Diamond Coat Platinum if you're buying it through Diamond Coat. So it's real amazing to see just how workable this is, how long later. So we'll probably, I'm figuring you'll have about a 2-hour work time with our new product. So kind of exciting. Good advice, Dominic. McNiggins. Oh, this is gonna be so clean. These veins are gonna be badass when I. Dude, this is actually amazing right now.
And one of the gals was like, "Can I have some of black?" I was like, "This is perfect. Take advantage
Yes,
of this."
this is like so fucking cool right now. And to think we waited an hour and 40 minutes ish.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's,
And it's not necessarily just sitting on the top either. Like,
it just slowly
yeah.
settles in.
Mhm.
I think this will be the sharpest veins we've ever had. I think this.
Deep gloss. I feel like this is gonna look sick too.
Oh, it will. I'm gonna try now to do some of the
Do
same
some
over
on the
here.
white or on the black.
Mm-hmm.
You know the gal with the infertility here?
Mm-hmm.
She got a whole braid through her white.
Oh my goodness. Did she get it cleaned?
I tried to help her, but she was like, "It's okay, it's okay." I was
Oh
like,
wow.
"Okay."
Holy hell.
But yeah.
That's a lot.
Like a good 5 inches. Yeah, are you gonna be adding golden charcoal?
I will. Yeah, we'll still be spraying the gold and a little bit of charcoal. Remember, guys, if your customer ordered white marble, they want white. The biggest thing you see happen is guys will start saying, "Oh, the gold's so fun to spray." They end up with a gold marble, and that's not what the customer wanted. And they end up having a non-paying customer, very understandably, because they didn't do what the customer wanted. Remember, it's post-lunch, so we're all kind of sleepy and probably a little bit stupid. Some of us might have been done before lunch too. But remember, there's alcohol and fire in here, so let's not start any fires. Unless you want Leah to put you out.
Yeah, she was carrying one of those, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
Oh yeah, that's a fire extinguisher. She got her eye on you.
So you hit it with the silver and then the gold?
Yeah, a little bit of gold, a little bit of charcoal. Ooh, it's $1. Oh, I almost got it. That's totally that dude. Tucker, quit being a fucker. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to think it rhymes.
You know, I called you that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's okay. We know how I got my weird names in the Marines.
You what?
We know how I got my weird names in the Marine Corps.
Nicknames were seriously, they're always just like Tucker the fucker or like Tucker the sucker. Like
That's awesome.
that's literally it. There's nothing really creative.
I told you mine was like Happy Sock, and I'm like, what? And they explained it. I'm like, that's a long story, but that's great.
Right.
Glad I could help you with. I apparently have given you pleasure for days of names and stories. So. I had two kind of like badass nicknames, and both of them like, no, that's not as funny. We'll just call them the funny ones.
See, I have the nickname that's kind of stuck with me recently is Tucky.
Tucky?
I don't know why like so many people are just like, oh my gosh, Tucky, and I'm like,
You're like, shut up. Tuki? Oh, who was the fucking blood that got put to death? He was death row inmate. He killed those people at the gas station.
What?
He was Tuki or something. Yeah, big gangbanger, like crazy. He was the like founder of the Bloods or the Crips or something. He killed some people at a gas station. He was Tuki. Hey, who was that guy that got killed? Death row inmate. He was the leader of the Bloods or the Crips, and he killed those people at a gas station. Was his name Tuki? Come on, somebody knows it. And then all these fucking whiny hippies went and were like, save Tuki's life. So, I don't remember. His nickname apparently is Tuki, so. You guys know who I'm talking about. Tuki the Dookie. No, just kidding.
That was my nickname and what I used to
I should put him on the microphone.
Oh my god.
Remember the first time I ever got teased? I moved to San Diego, and I never really had friends because I didn't know a ton of people growing up. And kids would try to like joke with me, and this kid was like, "I'll whip your ass" or something. So I don't think he was serious. So I waited after work for him.
Really?
And he kept not coming out, and the boss came out. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm gonna kick his ass when he comes out." And they're like, "Why?" And I'm like, "He told me he's gonna beat me up, and I'm not gonna like wait for like months of knowing when I'm gonna get beat up. May as well just get it over with." Like, he was joking. He does not want to fight with you. And I was like, "Oh, you should fucking tell me." Like, and they were like, "You need to know how to joke with people more." I was like, "Well, I'm not very passive. I wouldn't tell you I'm gonna do that unless I probably would have just done it to you if I thought I needed to."
Are we gonna do another sample after this?
Probably classroom and then maybe some more. So.
Do you want me to do the application one or the marking one?
Probably application. This is gonna look cool when we sand it, I think. Usually when I say I think, I really mean I hope. Yeah, once you feel like you're done doing your veins, make sure you're done with it because you're generating a lot of heat. You can remember to quickly torch it. Now, I would rather go over it quickly 3 or 4 times than take too long once where it burns it, because remember, we're just trying to really slowly get all these veins to settle in. If you feel kind of lost, walk around the room and check out what people are doing. You can look at mine or somebody's. If your piece looks like shit and you didn't walk around and look, then that's just your fault. You probably have the wrong. Let me see the. I wonder if are those all just universal sizes? Because I know like ear size has a lot to do with how an earpiece fits.
Yeah, they just came all the same.
I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem. I mean, I can hear out of them.
If you guys find something else that works better too, I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to get some of the white epoxy and do that as well. I did, yeah, I came back over it. It's about as thick as I can get it to come off at. There we are. That's gonna look sick once it's torched and sanded because it'll cut through so much of that. That is good. The black veins are pretty thick. Did you put some of those on before lunch?
No.
No?
No, I didn't. Mine just
Okay.
spread out.
Focus on a little bit sharper of veins. Those are good, man. That's cool. Who did this piece? That's cool. That's natural, and it's just so freaking random. Once you sand that, a lot of the gold will disappear, and some of the white will too, but it'll cut it and it'll look like an opened up stone more. So a lot of this shit, like, it's tough when you're first doing it to imagine what it's going to turn into, but once, like that one there, how some of the veins have sunk through the surface, if you wanted to sand that enough, you could run 400, 800 on that, and it'll kind of expose some of those black veins. And once you cut them open, it just looks so much more natural than when they're just poured on artistically, if that makes sense. So sanding really leaves a super satin, really natural look that you really can't duplicate with any other way. That's pretty. Who did this one? That's really good. Oh, that's cool. No, good job. You have a U-turn in the middle of yours.
I don't know where that came from.
It probably came off your belly button.
She got her hair in there. Paint with your hair.
Did you get it on your hair pretty bad? Yeah. Yeah. Did you alcohol it a bunch?
Oh no.
You can probably clean it with alcohol now. That's good. That's natural. Did you just do that? I like that. Yeah. That's what you want. That's what you want, though. That's where you'll get the really sharp, crisp veins.
With that,
Really good looking, guys.
come here, let me talk. I got it. I can wrap it.
Good job. No, that's perfect right there. Christella. Did I say it right? Did I? Oh, I always try to say people's names. Christella. S.A.
You gotta say it like my mom says it. Cristela. And then
What's your middle name?
I don't have one.
Because you're Mexican. What's both of your last names?
Well, it's Infante and then Gonzalez. But now
Yeah, so it's Cristela Infante Gonzalez. And then you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Then you know the chancla is coming for you.
Oh, yeah. You see on Facebook, they have
I was listening.
a chancla stuck to the...
No, that's pretty funny though. I can imagine that. Make some sharper, straight, small ones. Straight, some crooked, some straight, some really sharp, crisp, little tiny ones.
Do you think a stick or a brush is easier?
Do a stick. It'll be perfect, yeah. So just take your stick like this. And just dig it in like this across there. See how it's just kind of painting?
He never came and helped me like that.
I dig that a lot more now. Okay.
See how the different sizes make it look more natural than just, now if you want to take some of that and dig it into your white, you'll have more product that'll drip off, but it'll be a sharp vein and you'll get some of the white, and the white's really workable. And if you put it up the side of your stick, it'll be dripping off longer than if you just have it just on
like
the,
how you had it jammed up.
yeah, if it's just in the tip, so.
Like the walls at the restaurants, was that something that you did?
We poured that horizontal and then put it up. We do,
Okay.
we trowel some walls with one epoxy and the other epoxy will pour flat. And so it
Okay.
just depends on the use and what we're doing with it.
Okay,
so,
because
yeah.
I was just wondering, if you could do, so you do have products you could do vertically.
Yeah, all these
Okay.
walls are all vertical,
Okay.
troweled.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right.
All right, finish up your pieces and meet back in the other classroom as soon as you're done. Try to meet towards the front of the class so I don't have to yell at you guys. We really need to improve this slideshow. There's a lot of things that and I need to do it when I think about it with you. Like when I do it, then we'll think about it and then think about which slides we'd put in. Because there's a lot of little things that as I'm normally going through it, I'm like, man, I should cover this, but it's kind of awkward because it's not the next slide.
Yeah,
So,
like reformatting it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know that Carla was working on some of it.
No, and she did really well on it. I just think we're probably going to have to redo this
Yeah.
10 times.
Vamp it.
That was fast. How the fuck?
They followed you over there.
I did not. I'm like, turned around and there's a camera there. You guys can sit towards the front. You guys can hurry. Your pieces aren't going to look any prettier just because you touch them longer. You got it on your fingers?
I did. Like, I don't know how. I picked everything up and managed to get it.
It's on your wrist. Do we got the baby powder?
Yeah.
Where is it at? Because I thought I just saw baby powder.
Put some on the cart.
Oh, yeah. If you guys have resin on your hands, clean it up with alcohol and then baby powder. Yeah. Can't hear you. Yeah, the majority of them are disposable. So you can reuse mixing sticks because you can clean them off. Usually what I figure is a chip brush is cheaper than the amount of solvent it takes to clean it. So I'll just keep mixing and mixing with it and never really clean it that much, spin it till it's clean. And you can usually get away with using it several times. But if you really think about it on a job, to throw away one brush and one paddle mixer and a couple containers, that's fine. We throw away so much more in class because people are going through different samples, different colors. On a job, you don't really have that happening. So usually you have way more waste practicing than you ever do doing. Hey, don't worry, your guys' time's more important. We'll just wait on you. Hey, do we have people mixing epoxy right now? Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about it. If you're even mixing epoxy, don't worry about it. You'll be able to catch up in the following days. It'd be better that we all stay on track. So even if it doesn't matter, if you showed up late, we'll help you catch back up. And you can have our samples. If you're from Hawaii and you're late, you can have our samples if they're not too ugly for you. Yours will probably look better, but so. Try to get towards the front as close as possible, just so I don't have to yell the whole time. I know some of you guys probably don't want to sit near each other, and I can understand looking around. I'm kidding. I suck at sitting. If I'm in a public setting, I'm not sitting next to you or anybody else. I'm always by myself. But then people are here, and I try to make them sit next to each other. So, is that everybody, Dom? All right. Who wants to learn how to pour over Formica? Looks cheap as shit. Don't do it. I'm going to go over some of this, but that's kind of how I go every single class. Pouring over Formica looks like crap. Who recognizes the 4-inch splash on Formica when you walk in a kitchen? Who's seen a nice granite-looking pattern on Formica and been like, oh, that's kind of pretty, and then you look at the backsplash and you're like, it's just Formica. That's not very impressive. Anybody? Okay, if you don't think about it, your customers think about that. I walk in a house, and I believe that a contractor's number one value is probably perceived value. I guarantee that there's more of a perception of value that makes you profitable than your actual value. That's not to be rude about your work, it's just a fact. High-paid contractors are usually a little bit slower, a little more thoughtful, a little more knowledgeable. They probably have 20% more skill than the average guy. They get paid 4 times more because they're fucking thoughtful how they do things. You walk in, and I don't care what pattern you pour over this right there. I walk in and I see my grandma's countertops and somebody charged her $5,000 to do that. I'll be like, huh, that's just your old Formica? What a cheap ass thing they just did to you there, Grandma. You guys all also see how on verticals, if you're pouring a vein across a vertical and the product is liquid, it's going to flow down, right? So you're going to have a big drippy vein, right, coming off the back of your backsplash. It's going to look like crap. So my personal thought is don't do it. Then you'll have customers that'll say, I'm going to cut this off right there. How many people have thought about that? Cut the backsplash off. You guys can be very interactive. I did not mean to be such a dick that you guys can't talk. So has anyone thought about cutting these off? Okay, has anyone cut the back of a backsplash off? Anyone? Yeah, so see, cut this off right here. Pop that off. You see how there's a gap between the wall, right? That's because they do this a little piece of MDF. It's a 3/4 inch MDF at the very top, and I suck at drawing, so I hope you guys, and I don't think I can zoom into that. So that's a 3/4 inch piece of MDF that's angled going into the wall, so it leaves about a 1/2 inch void between your wall right here, right? So if you cut this off, and then you poured epoxy, you're gonna fill up your cabinet, right? So then you go and cut a bunch of little strips and drop them in there that are 1/2 inch strips. Then how do you actually seal them? You're gonna probably be using Bondo or spackling or something like that, and you're gonna keep layering it and sanding it and layering it and sanding it. Have you ever sanded with a DA sander up against a wall? Anybody in here? And it's skipping and hitting your wall. It's a pain in the ass, right? How much is MDF per sheet? 35. If you're here in Colorado, you're 32 to 36, depending on when it is. If you're in the Northwest, where most of it originates, you might be even $28 for a sheet, for a 4x8 sheet. If you're in Florida, you could be 40, right? So how many square feet are in a sheet of MDF? 32 square feet, right? So what are you per square foot? If you're about $32 for a sheet, 32 square feet, what would that be per square foot? What's that? $1 per square. He'll do all the math from now on because I never get the right answers. So $1 a square foot. Let's say this right here. What's our measurement from the front face of this cabinet? I'll do it in red so you can see. The front face of this cabinet, how far is it to your wall on a typical kitchen countertop? 24 inches, right? How big is a piece of MDF? It's actually 49 by 97, so it's 1 inch longer, 1 inch wider, which means that if you cut it exactly down the middle, you probably won't have the proper drip edge, right? Because how thick is your average drawer face right here? 3/4 of an inch, right? Yes. So who's seen tile done? Where they just screw a piece of plywood right to the top of the countertop so you don't have a proper drip edge, right? So then guys do that the same thing with epoxy, do an MDF. They cut their sheet of MDF up the middle, and then your actual drawer protrudes out further than the edge of their actual MDF. Does that make sense? It looks like shit. So don't worry about having your drop. Cut it at 25 inches, 25 and a half, whatever you prefer for that job site. Now, if your cabinets are set out from the wall, and I'm usually looking at my kitchen, trying to scribe it in or measure it, and if I notice that, say, one end is tight to my wall, and I'm 24 from my front face frame to my wall, but then maybe down in my corner, a lot of times because of how they did the drywall in the corner or whatever, if you're forcing it out another ½ inch, you're running 25 inches, and this is kind of tough to explain. This is your back wall. This is your cabinets. You're 24 here, right? But down here it might be 24 and a half, and you only, back to this wall right here on your corner, right? So if you had a 25-inch cut piece of MDF, at your end it's not actually, you don't actually have the correct drip edge, even though you do at your other end. I have no clue what it came back. I won't touch anything. So just be thoughtful and measure in your corner, measure at the end, figure out what you're doing, and cut your MDF accordingly. I usually cut for the widest drip edge if you're not templating. If you don't know how to template, I'm not going to show you. Google it and you'll figure it out from a granite guy. So what would it cost you if you cut 25 inches off and you double stacked your MDF instead of a single stack with a false edge like this? What would it cost you per square foot approximately if you have 2 layers of MDF where you're losing half your sheet? Yeah, she knows. You look so hyper. You're more awake than I am. I'm so fucking tired. What's that? You can't drink coffee? I want somebody get her coffee. How much would it cost you per square foot? $2. So let's say you doubled up 2 sheets of MDF, but you cut them 25 wide, so your 24 isn't wide enough, right, to have as part, so you're throwing half your sheet away. Let's just say you threw it away. We won't. We'll tell you other stuff to do with it. What is it? $4 a square foot, right? So you're $4 a square foot. What are you trying to charge in a job like this, an average kitchen? Anybody do epoxy here at all? Has anyone ever done epoxy? How much per square foot about, approximately? Base price, lowest possible.
We did it for a swimming pool, walls on the swimming pool.
Oh, totally different than a countertop then, yeah. So usually we're about $55 a square foot. It's about as cheap as I'd ever be. You're usually 55 to about 100. A lot of guys are around 70, 75. It depends on the area. And this is kind of funny, but one thing I've seen is some of the poorest areas have some of the best paid epoxy contractors. Some of the richest areas have some of the lowest paid epoxy contractors, and it all has to do with how that epoxy contractor comes out and markets himself. When the epoxy contractor comes out and says, hey, we're cheaper than granite, guess what? You're going to be cheaper than the cheapest granite every time. If you come out and say, hey, what problems can we solve because you have a radius edge, maybe a really difficult kitchen with some really fucked up walls and things that nobody else could solve, and you come out and solve all their problems, all of a sudden you're at $85 a square foot in an old crappy house. And you can afford to actually take care of their problems and make good money doing it. So I personally don't do Formica countertops. If I was to do a cheap Formica countertop, you know what my #1 concern would be? That customer would refer me. And when that customer refers me, how much can you get referred just coating over Formica? Not very much. Who's actually seen spray coating contractors where they come in and spray your Formica? We have a ton of them through this class. Almost every class has 1 or 2 of them. Anybody do spray coatings in this class? The flat coatings? Okay, well, one of the more high-paid people that has been in this class has told us their goal is to make $500 profit per day. So if they can make $500 profit out of a kitchen, they feel like that's profitable to them. I think that's very risky because even a low-end kitchen, if you're to really fuck something up, you could easily lose 20 grand immediately. How much risk are you taking at $500 profit per kitchen? You're purchasing risk every time you do that, so I think you need to be profitable enough to offset any risk to take care of customers. So that's Formica. Tile countertops. Where's Leah? We need to adjust that front edge on the, that's something I'll forget. Tile countertops right here, very typical. Now, when the chemist first told me you could pour directly over tile, if you're anything like me, I thought that sounded like the cheapest, most crap idea I'd ever heard of. I thought, who wants to go over tile? Who's my granite guys in here? Somebody from Hawaii. You do granite? Are you excited when you go out to a house and you see tile on a countertop? Yeah, and it's kind of depressing because how many times have you pulled the tile off, then you see the backer, then you see 3/4 inch plywood and they screwed with, say, drywall screws right into the face frame of the cabinet. The screw head pops right off, but your threads are still down in there, so you really can't separate that sheet of plywood from the actual cabinet. And unless you want to be a cabinet repair guy, you usually steer clear of these or charge enough to where you make money no matter what, right? What I started finding is a lot of perceived value right there. I got a ton of customers that were in really high-end homes. They had really expensive cabinets, and they ran out of money while they were building their house. They threw tile on their countertops, on their cabinets, right? So now they had a really low-end countertop on a really nice set of cabinets, and they don't want to see you destroy them. And so I started getting customer after customer saying, oh my God, I can do white marble and get rid of my tile grout lines and everything. And I can do it for $55 to $85 per square foot. They just want you to schedule them. They don't care what it takes, what colors you do. They'd almost take anything. I'm not saying to fucking rip people off right here, you guys, but I'm telling you that's a really easy customer. And why fight through, here's a question I used to ask a lot. Who gets excited when you walk out to a job and you see fresh cabinet setting with no countertops at all, new construction? That's awesome. It's awesome for him. The granite guy just raised his hand. He likes that. You like that? I love it. Because you're stuck there. I like this job because you come out and you see me and you're like, oh, fuck this guy. He's going to pour right over him. So he can beat me at price, design, anything. Now he has price points. He has probably 3 or 4 different categories of granite, right? At different price ranges. I don't. I have one price range. You get whatever color you want, whatever pattern you want. It's epoxy. Yeah, that's fine. You're still way cheaper than granite. So I can ship it anywhere in the world, and I guarantee you could still install under $20 a square foot. So cost to the installer. So no granite guys under 20 bucks a square foot. Doesn't matter what it is. You're not even close. So my thought when I first saw this is it sounds cheap. When I started seeing the customers I started solving a ton of people's problems. We did it on floors as well, and I started getting tons of customers just saying, schedule me, schedule me, schedule me. And I started figuring out, well, hell, I did tons of granite over this shit, and I hated it because I started either just refusing to bid, or I would bid like 150 bucks a foot because I thought, man, if I damage a $40,000 set of cabinets, I have to call in a real good carpenter to try to fix it, a faux painter. You're trying to get waxes melted in to fill little holes and voids. It just turns into a pain in the ass that's not worth your money. Or you go throw a whole bunch of granite on top of fresh cabinets and get your name out there and you make money. This here doesn't matter. The same countertop that everybody in the industry hates, you love because you make more money. So really simple. Who's seen here in Grand Junction, and I apologize, this isn't drawn perfectly, a very typical countertop here in Grand Junction. They put a 3/4 inch piece of plywood down, then they put mortar on top, then they shot backer board down to that with either a coil nailer like a roofing gun or screwed it down into the plywood. Then they put mortar down, then they put their tile down, right? And then because people in Grand Junction have no fucking class whatsoever, they shoot oak trim to the face of everything. Has anyone seen this type of cabinet? Yeah, it's hideous, right? What can you do about that? Well, you do have oak trim, so go grab another piece of trim, route it however you want to, and shoot it right to the face. The problem with this is generally they shoot a 3/4 inch piece of trim to this, and it's even with a 3/4 inch drawer face, right? Does that make sense? So it kind of looks like shit. You don't have a proper drip edge. You put another piece of trim with whatever edge profile you want to this, and again, I am so sorry. It doesn't matter how hard I try to draw nice, I can't draw nice. There, that's my really pretty piece of trim I shot to that. Now you already have a piece of wood to shoot to. The piece of oak trim you can shoot with an 18 gauge gun and shoot a new piece of trim right to that. If for some reason you had to remove it, it doesn't matter. You can shoot right to that plywood that's your base, right? Now all I would recommend doing is put a bead of clear DAP caulking, a paintable caulk. Run one bead because you want this to be totally watertight. Because what I have seen people do, this guy named Levi that's done a lot of fucking dumb things, you shoot this piece of trim here, but this isn't sealed. The original piece of oak isn't sealed, so you pour your epoxy across the top, and the epoxy goes down right here and tries to go in your drawer if it gets behind the tape, and that sucks really bad, but I have done that. Yes? You're going to have to get a translator. I don't have hearing.
Okay, I have a really old house with the tile countertop,
Uh-huh.
and the front is not wood,
We'll go over that. So any questions on this? She has a really good question, actually. This is a bit that almost looks like a dildo or something. I have no clue. So and usually it's not quite that accented, but has anyone ever seen the drip edge bullnose tiles that are also mounted to the front of tile countertops? You see it in California and whatnot. Anybody seen that?
The tile bullnose?
Has anyone seen those pop off? Or walk in a kitchen with renters in there and you see like 5 different styles and colors of grout? It's because they fall off all the time. People throw these tile bullnose on and they put the regular thin set or whatever they're using for mortar. They try to stick that on, and that's a 90-degree transition, so it expands and contracts differently than the surface. It pops off over time, right? So you take a little mallet, put a piece of cardboard down. If I got $1 for every time somebody says, how do I fix the tile I just chipped? Well, I don't know. I'm not a tile chip fixer. Or how do I get epoxy out of carpet? Don't fucking do it. So put a piece of cardboard down and then knock on this with a mallet. And then if your little hand is super non-athletic, like I probably was as a child, and this misses your hand and hits the floor, it hits cardboard and not their tile or their hardwood floor. So you're not damaging existing stuff that they weren't having you bid on. Because the best way to not do something you didn't bid on is not damage it. So pop all these off, and then what do you end up having right here? You still have plywood right here, 3/4 inch plywood, right, that you can shoot to. Now you go get a piece of casing, because door casing is wider than trim or molding, right? So you get a piece of door casing here, shoot it on whatever edge profile you want. You can also go to a custom trim shop. Almost every town, even small towns that you wouldn't think, somebody has a machine that can cut custom trim. You can cut whatever edge profile you want to on there, shoot it in here with an 18 or a 16 gauge gun, shooting it to your 3/4 inch plywood. Now, you're gonna wanna shoot this just slightly, and I mean slightly high, to level with the highest tile. Because usually in real life, your tile, if you're to look at it up close, has all this texture to it. You're running a level across the top trying to figure out what level is, right? Does that make sense? And now you want that piece of wood trim that you shoot there to be level with the top. Instead of pouring epoxy in here and wasting a bunch of money and buying a ton of stuff from us, take your epoxy, mix it 1-to-1. So you have 1 part A, 1 part B. You mix that up in the cup. Don't let it get hot. Go and get some gypsum powder. Who knows what gypsum powder is? Like drywall powder, the fast set mud. It doesn't matter if it's 5-minute or 45-minute or anything in between. It's totally inert. You're using it as an aggregate, and you can fill almost 1-to-1 ratio with mixed epoxy and gypsum powder. Does that make sense? So I usually grab the 20-minute mud, throw it in there, and then you can make a slurry paste. It's a little bit thinner than peanut butter, so it flows a little bit, and you can trowel it across this surface right there. It's awesome because it volumizes. The other thing is epoxy will keep seeping through these grout joints until you see all the grout joints perfectly again. The contour is perfectly there. It's sealed, but now you have to pour the whole thing again. If you do the slurry mix, you can usually get it poured all the way across the surface, come back the next day, sand a few little high spots, and you have a perfectly white substrate to work on that's rock solid and really smooth, really nice to work with. What I do though is I run a piece of tape right here on my edge, right? I'm also gonna run masking down over here so I'm not dripping anything on my floor or cabinet face. But I run a piece of tape right on top of this wood because you do not want any excess of this drywall mix slurry pouring over the top of this actual trim piece. It's going to be a mess. It's not going to flow like epoxy, so you're not going to have any really nice contour or anything. So pull that off and then sand off any of that transition. Yes, ma'am?
Just in case there's a corner that got come off, is it sandable?
If it went where?
The epoxy gypsum is sandable.
Very sandable, but I mean, if I saw it right when I did it, I'd just clean it up with alcohol. Don't use xylene and acetone and stuff like that on cabinets. A lot of mistakes made when people start taking solvents to cabinet faces. I would first wipe it off with a rag as much as possible. You can use white vinegar. That's a really safe cleaning solution. If white vinegar is not working, then you can use, I'd probably actually use 70% alcohol. Don't spray 70% alcohol on your piece though, because there's too much water content, right? But it would be a really diluted, safe alcohol to clean a cabinet face if you had wet epoxy on it. Then if that doesn't work, bump it up to 91 or 99. Does that make sense? What you don't want to have happen is when my guy called me and said, hey, don't worry, I dripped on the face of the cabinets, cleaned it up with xylene, It was a brand new faux painted set of cabinets, and I had to send a faux painter in there they charged me out the nose to re-faux paint, which I totally fucking deserved. So he washed the cabinets clean right in front of the sink and didn't see anything wrong with it. So God rest his little soul. He's no longer with us. So any questions on this, guys? Yes, sir.
If you used to pour that compound that you just said the slurry makes
Yes, sir.
on top of Formica, that wouldn't be something you would recommend. Would that be lamp? Would that be a short?
I wouldn't worry about it delaminating. What reason? Why would you ever need it on Formica? Because all I'm using it as an aggregate to fill voids.
Somehow there's like blue spots underneath if they.
I'd probably just use epoxy for that, like seams and stuff like that. Yeah, Bondo or epoxy. It's much faster.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
On that note, I was going to ask, could you screw one sheet of MDF on top of laminate?
No, I'd pull the laminate out, and I apologize for not going over that. If I'm doing laminate, I pull it out. How long does it take you to take your average laminate whole kitchen out? Yeah. Shutting your sink off is probably your number one concern, right? Making sure your angle stops are off and that nothing's leaking under your sink. Other than that, it's super fast to pull Formica. Yes, sir.
So the slurry is only to fill voids? It's not for
Fill voids and like tile grout lines and stuff like that. You're not trying to create a coating with it. You're trying to fill voids. And what you get is something that's not going to settle. Epoxy will settle several times before it'll fill a void, and you're spending, $99 a gallon. As opposed to gypsum, you get an additional gallon per. So you can mix it 1-to-1 approximately. So that second gallon of volume costs you about $4 instead of $99. So I'm just trying to help you save some money there. So yeah, very good question though. And no, I wouldn't shoot on top of that. I would like you guys to come up with your average kitchen measurement right here. I want you guys to do math on your cell phones right now, everybody, and I'm going to look at you guys, and you guys are going to figure out what square footage you have here. We'll see how close you are. I'll do the math right along with you because I cannot remember. I'm not going to let you guys see what I just wrote down. Anybody? Who found out a number somewhere in the 30s? 40s? Do you have any number? You don't have a cell phone? What's that? I'll show you guys. I just had to see where the class was at here. Does anybody have measurements yet? Yes.
72.83.
Square feet. About 1,000 square feet? Okay. All right, everybody follow by me. Anybody have a calculator? Everybody do this. Don't be fucking lazy. Usually everybody is lazy as hell and they let one person do this. But I don't trust that one person usually. That's why I want everybody to do this. So, okay, type in 120 plus 60 plus 42. So 120 plus 60 plus 42. What's your number? 222 times 25. All these countertops here, 25, 25, 25. You see 25 down here, right? This right here is all 25. So you have 222 times 25. What's your number? Say again? Divided by 144, because that's how many square feet? Square inches are in a 1 square foot, right? Uh-huh. What's your number? 38? Yeah, whichever. It's closer than 1,000 square feet. Closer already than some numbers I heard. So what's 108 times 36?
3,888.
Divided by 144? 27. 96 times 36? Divided by 144, you're like 24, right? What's 24 plus 38 plus 27? 89, right? Was that a simple way to do that? Usually I'm going to walk in a job site. I'm not like the granite guy any longer because I love not being the granite guy anymore. I'm going to draw not on graph paper exactly to scale. I'm going to use graph paper to help me scale, and I'm just going to draw very quickly the most accurate kitchen layout. I'm going to know that back wall runs down further than the front bar top. I'm going to kind of guesstimate something wrapping around. I'm going to make it look as close as I can. As you do it with practice, you'll get better and better at it, but I don't fucking care because I'm going to measure it. It's just some kind of thing to help me know what measurement is what so the customer knows I'm not just guessing at them. Then I'm going to snap photos, and I'm probably going to leave a tape measure down my back wall when I snap photos. Sometimes I'll move my tape measure around, but with phones shooting 22 megapixel photos, you can answer a ton of questions at home without calling your customer and being like, hey, I'm kind of dumb. Can I go look at your job? So I've showed up without a tape measure before, so go figure that one out. So have anybody ever showed up to bid a job and found out you didn't have a tape? So fucking embarrassing. They're like, we have a tape measure. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I was going to try to pretend I was Superman with laser eyes or something. So, yes, sir. Somebody.
What about your face? The 2 inches there?
We're not worried about it right now. We're trying to get square foot to bid. It's different than what your math is for how you do your job is totally different than how you bid. It's kind of your business. Now, I walk in this job, and the lady's super nice and happy with what I did, with all my colors she's seen, and she seems like a real easy person to deal with. I'm probably going to be around $55, $65 a square foot. I walk in, and she's a bitch talking about spending her husband's money. I'm going to spend lots of his money because I expect her to be a difficult-ass woman to deal with. So, but I'm going to do the math so she doesn't think that I'm just, because I can't put like a bitch surcharge on the end. And often that bitch surcharge goes to guys. So, but if I see a guy like whining about his Corvette in the garage and a fly landed on it, I'm going to charge him out the ass because I know he's going to look at this job and he's going to be extremely picky. So, but for all intents and purposes, we still want square footage. So we have some idea of what we're measuring. Now, you ask this customer 4 times until she's pissed, hey, do you want backsplashes? We can do a full height backsplash on here pretty inexpensively. No, my husband's going to do tile. How many of you ever have had a wife come home and tell you you're going to do something and you're like, I don't have time for that, so, right? And he says the same thing, and now you didn't want to offend the woman, right, by measuring a backsplash she told you not to measure right in front of her, right? But you snap photos, right, and you still have measurements of what the base is, and now she calls you, and I would bet you half your customers are going to add something later that they told you no to at first. Now I want a price for a full backsplash. How many square feet of backsplash do I have in here? Does anybody know how to figure it out? It's real easy. He knows how to. What's your average height above your countertops of your upper cabinets? Average height. 18 inches, she knows. So you're 1.5 feet from countertop to upper cabinets, right? Now how many linear feet do we have in here, right? Where are the extra measurements we need to know? Because we can't just measure our countertops and get the correct footage, right?
You have to know your cutouts first.
What's our stove?
30 inches normally.
30 inches, right? What do we get here in this corner? Because we have 120 to this corner, right? But we only had 60 right up to it. We have an additional 25 inches, right? Then down here, because we ended right here and this doesn't have a wall in it, we need an additional 36 inches, right? So you do 36 plus 120 plus 25 plus 60 plus 30 plus 42. 313? 313 divided by, figure it out on, let's do it perfectly. Is that what you just did?
Divided by 144?
No. You got 313? Okay, times 18. If you divided 313, you would end up having almost no square footage. You got to multiply your height.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because you're 18 inches high. What's your number now? 313 times 18 divided by 144. And you're probably somewhere around 30 something, 38. What's that? 39. So you got another 39, almost 40 square feet out of this just by doing backsplashes, right? So that would be a very common equation that if you bid 10 jobs, 4 of them are going to make you come back and do this. And if you're driving an hour and a half to a bid, this is much easier knowing how to get the square footage of backsplash right there. Now, I am not going to honestly care. A lot of people are going to say, what about where it cuts down for the window? Well, guess what? Over your stove, you're going to have some little bump up into your oven hood. So I'm going to let those two cancel each other out. What about to the left of the cabinets? I don't really care. We'll do it higher. Let me waste $4 a product at your house. I don't really mind giving you whatever you want to. You should be profitable enough to where if they have something completely out of the ordinary, or if you're building in here and they have you kick this out a little more and then do like some radius turn, so what? You ended up adding 5 square feet. You shouldn't be going broke if you bid this at a correct price on 89 square feet. So, not really. I'm usually just bidding off my square footage. So even if I was at $55 a square foot, let's figure out our cost on this. So let's say we doubled up all our MDF. We had to throw half of it away, so we're at $4 a square foot. Now, our backsplashes are separate than our working surface, and I'll go over that. How much did that just cost us, 89 square feet?
Times 4.
Deck, 356. Um, 15 square feet per gallon, and we're going to pour it twice. How many square feet? 89 divided by 15. What do you have? 6? So we'll use 12 gallons because we're pouring twice, right? No discount, no dealerships, anything like that. So we're $100 a gallon. So we're $1,200 worth of epoxy in here, right? Let's say random extra materials, another $1,000. What? Fuck, I suck at writing. I think I ate a salad. Apparently that even put me to sleep. So any other expenses you guys can think of? Who has a crew here? You have a crew? Nobody else here is going to quit their job if they find out that he pays more in Hawaii. Imagine if he pays like $30 in Hawaii and then everybody wants to move there and work for you. So $350 a day for 8 hours and they complain? You're so fucking cheap. So I'm kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. How many guys to do this job? You want to leave a 2-man crew? And let's leave them for 2 days. So 2-man crew in 2 days. I would say I'd probably accept that 2 or 3 times, and then you better learn your shit, or else I probably wouldn't pay for you to keep going to jobs. How much is that? So you're $1,400, right? Yeah, but I would always want to make sure I make money on my worst case day ever, because I know if I'm making money on my worst case day, if I send one guy out or I am the guy, I know I just kept that money. If I don't use $1,000 in extra materials and it turns out to be like $23 because I probably would have used some wood glue and some screws, then I know I just got off cheap. So I might have got away with 1 or 2 less gallons. I usually pour more product than I need because it actually flows and does a lot of my work for me. It'll hide a lot of my little fuck ups. I probably would have used full sheets here. I wouldn't have had to totally throw away scrap here because honestly 36 inches, you'd be cutting whatever profile they want for the sitting surface. You're not tossing 2 drop sheets to throw away the side. So what is this together?
With that said,
What's this?
With that being said, can you have one solid sheet or can you have a seam with it to use the
Oh, you have seams anywhere on it because you're going to run Bondo, and we'll actually do some here in class. We're just trying to figure out pricing for you guys. How much is it? $39.56. Now let's say they saw your friend that you did it for $55 a square foot. What are you per square? How much is this job? How much are you charging the customer? 89 times 55. What is this? Okay, is that 89? 48. So I'd say that sucks, but this guy walked away with $1,100, sorry, $900 profit, right? And never touched a job. I probably would bid this job at $65 a square foot, and I definitely wouldn't use an extra $1,000. Does that make sense? Does everybody at least know how you'd start pricing yourselves? Now they add the backsplash in. You're looking at one layer of 1/4 inch MDF, really thin, lay it right on top of the tile, and you become a little more profitable. So you can see in a worst case scenario, with you not wanting to even help on the job site, you should still be profitable. Does that make sense to you guys? Does everybody know how to do the math? So now when we're doing math, do you guys see how we measure and everything like that? So now, it was easy for me in this town to get over $55, $65 a square foot 6-7 years ago when I did this. So you have a lot of guys now doing this all over, like in Ohio, making 80, 90 bucks a square foot. So it just depends on what profit margin or how you're advertising, how you're marketing yourself. You have questions? You have questions? No? All right, we'll go over flooring later. Who wants to do another sample so we can wake back up? All right. I'm so tired. I'm struggling.
Because you didn't eat very much.
I know, you have hair hanging out the back of your head.
I could feel that. That was
Ooh.
gross. That was nasty.
That was a long hair. Yeah, we'll get all this out of there. Cindy, good job on your math today.
Bad job on my math.
Huh? You sucked at your math. You were terrible. The one guy I thought would know it. No, I totally understand. I would have messed it up too. So.
I was gonna ask you. So I'm looking at the office renovation stuff. Do you want Matt to look at the ceiling and do it, or do you want us to hire him?
We need to hire it out. Hey. Oh shit! I better pause this. Yes. Somebody said the number. 8, right? So how many people do we have here? 2, 4, 6, 8. So one side can mix 8 right there. How many people do we have here? How many people do we have there? So get yourself into teams and mix. So the 2 girls in the back, no, stay right there. Because obviously you have 10 here, right? But you'll be mixing 8 per 96. So you'll just do another 24-ounce mix. You guys are going to have 8 right here. You're going to mix 1 container. I just did it for you. Should be a kindergarten teacher. Except all the kids will be like, Daddy, I fucking learned a lot today. Was Levi your teacher? All right, so you're going to mix 1 to 1, same as before. So if you're mixing 96, how many A, how many B? 48 and 48, right? So start mixing. Time's wasting. I'm actually excited to sand that. This one really turned out good, too. I'm just kidding.
I was like the one that was there.
I was just kidding. My jokes are dumb. I'm sorry. I wish I had better jokes. I don't. What's that? You're sweet. That's laughing at my dumbass jokes. Always leave your container setting on a surface so you get an accurate measurement. Don't try to hold it and pour into it. I'm going to let this hit 100.
What? I'll get it to 100? Right. That's nuts.
It'll be hard as shit tomorrow. Watch.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Oh, yeah, it'll be rock solid.
Oh, sorry. I can take that. Yeah. Who has a cell phone? Google soapstone. Soapstone slab. I want you each to Google soapstone slab. Soapstone's also about $180 a square foot, right? So if you want to be competitive, do a product that by default is very high end. So the customer's gotten 3 quotes on soapstone, and they're all 140 to 240, and then you show up and you can still do it for 80, and you have a job doing a really high end color, right? Because we don't do different price points. How's your day? Good. You're always smiling, so. When's the last really bad day you had? A while ago?
Yeah. 5 quarts too much?
No, not too much. No. Not 5, but like 96 ounces. How much is in a quart? 32 ounces. What's 4 quarts? 128.
What? Damn it. Let me get my ratio down. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I just can't think of it.
No, you're fine.
You feel pressure.
Yeah.
Are my titties jiggling when I mix? I should have like mix videos. Yo, by truck drivers. We want to buy his underwear. Especially if they're down to check me out, they're gross. If you're watching me on YouTube to jerk, you're a nasty fuck. I get Channing Tatum. I'd probably, if he sent me his underwear, I'd be like, yeah, I'm keeping this. Not smelling it, but I'm keeping it. Put it on the wall.
What?
If I could have back in my life all the time I've spent mixing epoxy, I'd have like a whole another 2 more careers.
Do you enjoy mixing it?
Dude, when I first ever mixed epoxy, I would have been done right here and dumped it out probably a while ago.
Really?
And I would be like, whoa, fucking sticky spot. Dumb. Just did not knowledge. Nobody had knowledge.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
Just saying, it's worth a look if you get a chance.
There's probably more exciting people than me in here.
I think you need to move it on campus in your office.
Is there comments?
Did you see that picture?
No.
It's amazing. Carla made that. Do you see the horizon?
Yes. Oh my god.
Miss Kellerberry?
Did she take that from the one
Yeah.
that you did?
Yeah.
So is it $100 for the A and $100 for the B?
Uh-huh. Yeah, if you're not a dealer. Dealerships get about 40% discount.
Okay. And he said something about a kit. What's in a kit?
We'll go over all that.
Oh.
Yeah. No, you're fine. We still have 3 days of class, 3.5.
I am, but that's not what we're discussing.
Well, I
You
mean,
didn't get that joke,
most
did
no.
you?
Dealers
you
won't.
You said you're fine. I said you're damn right I am. but
Oh,
that's
shit,
not
I
what
did
we're
not get
discussing.
that. No. And most dealers won't buy kits. They'll buy like however much base they need, whatever accents they need.
And see what we have, because we sub to a big company and they've already bid it out. Huge jobs of epoxy. And it won't be a lot of this stuff that they want. It's mostly epoxy with color.
Right.
You know, like, oh, we want to paint the whole mechanic shop at UT, at the University College. We want it gray, or we want it this, or we want it that.
Right.
And it's not necessarily designs that they want.
No, I totally
which is
understand
great to
that.
have that.
Right.
But, you know, most of them is going to be like.
This is just another tool in the toolbox. If they need colors, you can do it. If they need gray, we can do that. Are you okay?
Yeah, I got a rocking.
I hate that shit. Were you kicking it forward, dude?
Oh, that's just epoxy.
Have you ever had it like where you're like trying to get it down to your toe so it like is kind of out of the way, and then it's like keeps sliding back under your foot, and then
Yeah.
it is a piece of epoxy. You know you work with Diamond Coat when you have epoxy in your shoe, in the shoe.
Question. Is there a possibility we can switch that?
You're just full of fucking difficulty, aren't you?
I'm so sorry.
I'm totally kidding, Victor. I don't care. I would walk around the building 3.5 times for you. Not 4.
Straight down at you.
No, you're perfect. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're
That's good to know, though, from now on. I'll try to always do that. How was your weekend?
pretty chill.
Right. Did you get to sleep finally? Did you do another 12-hour nap like last weekend? Oh, you need that.
Nah, I wish so. How about you?
Kids, just hanging out with them. There's no end to the fun with Maya. I had Maya all day yesterday, just me and her. And then I had all my kids the rest of the weekend, and
That's fun.
it was just a lot of fun. She's funny. She just wants to be with me all the time. It doesn't matter. Even I've seen people be like, "Oh, we're taking all the kids to Bananas or to wherever," and she'll be like, "Can I just stay with you, Daddy?" She never wants to go anywhere, or she'll want to go. She'll be like, "Can I go? Can you and me go somewhere?"
I think I get your eldest daughter and your youngest daughter.
Mia and Maya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one's the oldest one?
Mia's the older one. Maya's the younger one. Thought I got some on me. I did not. It was sticky, not wet.
Yep, there is.
And then a guy back home did my uncle's house for $8,000, and on top of his formica, did not put MDF, did not put another different substrate. He just poured it right on top. And
Which you could pour directly over Formica and never have a failure with a high-grade epoxy. So we have thousands and thousands of pours, and I've never even heard of a single failure over Formica if you clean it well.
Yeah,
he
used Eco.
Yeah, and I refuse to ever talk bad about anyone else.
Right.
But most brands out there are just cheap shit.
Yeah, shit.
So.
Yeah, and that's where it ended up, Levi. And so that's why my family was like, and then I don't get paid in my field for 8 to 10 weeks out.
Right.
Everybody gets paid on Friday with those wages. So now we're going into slow time. So I thought I'd come up here, and I'm very blessed because I kind of manifested that you guys had a class I didn't even know how to do. And she's like, yeah, the class starts at 11 of November. I'm like, no fucking way. Like, I'm serious. Like, the total, I attraction of the law of the universe. Like, I was
Right?
Just, yeah, and it manifested that I'm here. That's why I'm stoked.
Well, thank you so much for coming here.
No, I really
It's a big honor to us that somebody would travel as far as you're coming.
Thank you, and you guys are welcome to come too.
They
Well,
told me
thank
you were
you.
ready for this.
I'm gonna need help.
Well, I do appreciate that.
They told me that you were
Yeah,
ready
sorry.
for the powder.
Sorry, I keep pausing and unpausing.
No, no problem.
I'm not
That's
just checking
very
myself out.
pigmented. I'm so
Damn.
sorry. This
Damn.
just, that's quite a bit.
Oh, you're good. I bet that'll be perfect. What are our temps looking like?
81.
Okay. Yes. Everybody wants to know if this is FDA approved or FDA compliant. It's FDA compliant. Any website that claims they have FDA approved epoxy is fucking lying because people just put anything they want online. The FDA has a list of compatible ingredients. Do you want to know something that's totally legal with the FDA because we know the federal government's worthless as fuck? BPA. There's no limit to BPA because there's so much money made by the FDA on products that have high BPA counts, right? Even though it's very unsafe. So if we're looking for the FDA to keep us safe, just go kill yourself now. If you want to know for your customers who concern themselves who are idiots, if it's FDA compliant, yes, but there's other chemicals that are in epoxy that the FDA doesn't even know about or register or care about should not be FDA compliant if they actually cared about your health. So our newest resin, the premium, has no isobenzoyl alcohol, and that's probably the number one. That's the number one product we see that can create allergens and different things, and it doesn't have an actual true BPA in it. So it's not from a bisphenol, phenolic, whatever the fuck. So so it's a pretty high end. It's also harder, very food safe, but it's a very good question. However, don't ever expect the FDA to keep you safe. So to my knowledge, every single company I've ever seen lie, and I'll say that on a live video, lie and say they're FDA approved is just putting it because they think it sounds cool. So, yeah, it's a food safe epoxy. I was in a supplement store and they were all proud that everything was FDA approved, and I'm like, wow, okay. So, sure, you have the healthiest shit in the world if the government's okay with it. Hope the government's not watching my live video. Hope they are. If you are, I hate you guys. It's crazy how the BPA count that can be in products that's totally proven to be a carcinogen that nobody gives a fuck about, especially the EPA. And yet they'll have other ingredients that they have never made profit off of that are very borderline healthy or not healthy, but since it's not profitable to them, they'll list it on a hazardous list. So the FDA is extremely crooked in my eyes. I just wouldn't gauge my health on what they say is healthy.
What temperature are we getting it up to?
I'm gonna do 100.
100?
Yeah. We're gonna let it hit 100 degrees. So keep talking and being loud, I don't care. For fun, less work time.
Okay. I wondered if it was a hard texture.
Make it harder, faster. Holy shit, I stink. Oh, fuck, my balls, I stink. Wow.
I don't smell anything.
Holy hell, it's terrible.
Oh yeah. Is it like that
That's from having that's from having a hurt shoulder and only doing cardio and legs in the morning. I did a leg workout and then I still had time, so because I couldn't do any upper body or anything, so then I ran stairs for a little bit and then I was like, I guess I'll do another leg workout. So. Huh? we let it hit 100?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yours was almost at 105.
Good. It's still very workable too, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. What's that?
We have some in here.
A little bit. What happened to your guys's? Use it quick if you're going to use it because we're burning time right now. It's hot. Is it setting right now?
Yeah, I think so. When I like ran my brush across it,
Let me see it. Oh,
funky. I mean, it's not as bad as.
I think it's pretty good still.
Is it?
I think it's good. Fucking dick. Did we do the pearl?
Mhm.
We did?
Yep.
Okay. How hot's our pearl getting, guys?
Dom's dumping it out.
Okay.